Welcome to Fouts Boxing Theory. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Emmanuel Navarette beating up Robson Conceicao, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that they could be doing, could do better, could do worse. Some of the things that they did well. Um, and if you guys want the full film study, check it out on my Patreon. Links in the description. Now, most of the fight was kind of fought like this, where the beginning of the rounds would start with Robson Conceicao kind of allowing sometimes Navarrete to go first and try to counter his jabs, right? And this would make boom, boom. This would make Navarrete a little less likely to throw in the next sequence, right? Navarrete, actually a pretty decent fighter, and that would allow Robson Conceicao to kind of come forward and throw his punches. Now, I want to highlight real quick. See him ducking below the waist and kind of, he's not exactly turning his head away from his opponent right now, but there are times when he will. But ducking below the waist is not legal. This is not a legal tactic. I just want to point that out because one of the big things that's wrong with Emmanuel Navarrete is his defense sucks. It's really bad, you know? And that's why some of the sequences Robson was able to put together were really good because Navarrete would come in and he would land a big combination and then Robson would be able to counter him. Now, excellent slip here. Again, Robson did a great job in this fight, fighting off of Navarrete's very, very predictable jab. Now, again, fighting off of his jab. But one of the problems in this fight was that the best punches that Robson threw in this entire fight missed. Okay? And Robson Conceicao wasn't really feinting or probing or controlling any space. Every time Navarrete would get on his line, he would either do something or not do something. Okay? And in this sequence here, not doing something and allowing Navarrete to come forward and land basically with impunity, you know, because of the fact that Robson Conceicao, for the most part, would either go first with a big explosion of punches or he'd let Navarrete go first, and then he would have a big explosion of punches. His actual defense was not very dynamic. It was just kind of put his guard up and kind of hope, right? And in this sequence, when he didn't have the energy to punch, as he winds down at the end of the rounds, it would be easier for Navarrete to get close and just land a bomb, land a bomb, land a bomb, land another shot, little tiny one on the back or at the top of the head there. But as the fight would wear on, right, Navarrete would also do a good job of feinting him, right? Controlling. Oh, not this clip. Again, Conceicao just throwing bombs. Now, Navarrete's defense, right? Not very good, right? But Conceicao throwing the biggest punches that he can, and again, mostly missing, mostly hitting air, right? Again, no feinting, no probing, no real setups, no understanding or taking advantage of the very, very predictable positions of Navarrete, right? Now, in this sequence here, Navarrete is going to get to the line, and we can see Robson's trying to parry the jab here. So he gets to the line and controls him a little bit and then moves off. And by getting to the line and probing here, giving him a little bit of a look, Robson's going to explode into these jabs. Okay? And now he's going to move forward, get to the line again, and Robson brings his guard up off the line and he moves back on the line, feints him here a little bit. Robson looks to interact and control him, to control Navarrete as he gets to the front foot, right? But not with a feint or a probe, with a punch, a stepping punch. Navarrete moves off the line. He's going to jump back on the line here, feint him, right? And again, getting him that shoulder feint timing, giving him the timing. Hey, are you going to attack? Checking the line now with his weight, not with punches, right? Like Conceicao is throwing punches, allowing him to get to the line, feinting him again, right? Forcing a reaction from Conceicao, an explosion, right? Getting him to react to the punch and then making him defend that punch, right? Now, all of that leads to Conceicao eventually tiring out a little bit, usually at the beginning of the fight, very late in the round, and then as the fight wore on, it became earlier and earlier. But Navarrete would find himself able to just kind of walk onto Conceicao's line as the feinting and stuff would stop him from throwing and exploding because he would be exploding into air. not doing anything. This would allow Navarrete to more properly utilize his power punching and be much more efficient, and land a lot of great punches. Now again, Navarrete's defense very bad, very bad, very bad. He blocked that punch, give it to him, okay. But in the next sequence here, he's going to start chasing Robson, right? And again, Robson, this was right after that. I think he might have hurt Robson. Robson's not really looking to interact with him, even though he threw that sequence after, controlling him. And again, the defense, is he blocking this punch? No. He's just sitting in his high guard. Is he blocking that punch? A little bit of trying to counter here. But Navarrete feeling comfortable just walking onto Robson's line after feinting him so much, giving him a lot of opportunities to throw really powerful punches. Okay, and again, everything that Navarrete or that Conceicao does is these big explosions. Beautiful little sequence here. And again, not a lot of, not a lot of things changing, throughout the course of the fight. That was kind of the pattern for the fight. Robson would come out blasting away, really crazy shots, throwing everything with the kitchen sink at him, and in the beginning of the round, Navarrete would come out with a jab, get countered, come out with a feint, not get countered. Robson would tire, and then the efficiency of Navarrete, I thought, he would just land huge sequences, but not just like quick combinations, powerful punches. He hurt Conceicao multiple times. I think Conceicao kind of looked good early in a lot of spots, but his punches were just so lackluster. And the things that Navarrete was landing, he was just busting them up. Now, again, a few things that each fighter can do better. Number one, Robson Conceicao has no head movement, right? He's not really controlling. He's not feinting. He's not probing. As Navarrete moves up to the line, right? What does he do? He just got controlled with the jab here. Is he going to move his head now? No. Is he going to move his head now? 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 At no point does he make an effort to move his head during this sequence, right? And this stems from a lack of head movement from the outside because he's not trying to change positions. He's not trying to get his weight going. He's trying to fight for this dominant position on the line. I talk a little bit about this on Patreon if you guys want to check it out. Um, but not feinting and not probing just tells Navarrete, once he starts feinting and probing, getting to the line, feinting here, right? Giving him a little bit of looks, feinting here. That tells him that Robson's not going to interact with him. And once he knows that he's not going to be interacted with once he gets into range, he can just walk into range and throw his hardest punches. He can pick a spot on the line where he thinks it's not being properly defended, and he can just throw his hardest punch there. It could be to the body. It could be to the head. It could be around the guard. It could be straight down the pipe. But he knows that Robson's not going to interact with him in that moment, so it's basically free. And that's because Robson's not controlling any space. He's not feinting, right? He's not probing. He's not changing positions. There's not really any very good shoulder feints from him. Whereas when we look at Navarrete, we see him get on the line. We know when he's punching, right? Down, up. Again, if you guys don't know anything about pendulum boxing or my 2-foot punching theory, we drive on the ground, not with the back foot, right? Like most coaches teach you to put the cigarette out, but that's not really what you're doing, because all those coaches are neglecting what you're supposed to be doing with your front foot, because boxing and punching, we got to use our whole bodies, right? You got to use both feet, okay? So more on 2-foot punching and how to actually generate punching power, okay? Now, Emmanuel Navarrete is like a novice at this. He's not even that good, okay? And you guys can see the kind of devastating power that he can generate. Now, one of the things that he's not good at, he's not even throwing his hardest punch. He's just chilling, right? Throwing some just real easy light punches. It takes a lot of effort for him, right? But he's not very strong. He's not very in shape. He's like kind of flabby, So there's a lot of room for growth, okay? But I'm not just going to teach you that in the Fouts boxing combat system. I'm also going to teach you all the best ways to drill this technique so you can make these moves as small and invisible as possible, okay? Not only that, right? All the best drills, all the best ways to put it together. I'm going to teach you how to jump rope. I'm going to teach you how to shadow box. I'm going to teach you how to play the games on the heavy bag. But I'm also going to teach you about real punching power and what to do with your hands so that you can be fast and you can generate speed like Ryan Garcia and power like Tank Davis. Okay? I'm going to teach you exactly what to do with every single piece of your kinetic chain so that you don't fall off balance like Emmanuel Navarette every time you throw a punch. um, Now, I'm also going to teach you defense, right? How defense works, okay? How pull counters work, how blocking works, okay? Um, Other skills, right? Things that Emmanuel Navarrete is not actually that good at, right? Otherwise, when he gets here, he could be coming back with the punch right now, but he's not really in a position to attack, right? As he gets to the line here, probe, right? Catches a jab, probe, pulls, and Robson Conceicao just used an awful lot of effort trying to explode into his attack, right? So he's a little bit off balance. But because Navarrete is more off balance, Conceicao is able to get planted and throw his punch before Navarrete, right? Because Navarrete has very, very poor defense. He doesn't understand what he's supposed to be doing with his defense, right? Number one, well, changing positions. A lot of times when Navarrete gets to the line, he only comes forward with that lead shoulder forward, right? No counters here, right? Poor defense. Okay. Getting his opponent to go first, right? He got here, he feinted him, pull. Can he counter? Where's the Mayweather counter at least? Right? Again, look at how far off balance he is just from a jab, right? At least Shakur Stevenson didn't look like that. Well, De Los Santos would annihilate this dude. He would kill this guy. Um, but again, an ability to fight off of his probes, right? His defense, pull counters. Again, because he's such a, you know, an offensive machine, he only knows how his talent works going one way in basically one position. So, a few things. I don't always like his guard, right? Where his hands are, what he's trying to accomplish with his hands, because he's just trying to be in pendulum. But being able to fight off of his feints, fight off of his probes, and fight off of his defense, even if it was just one trick, even if it was just one move where he could block one hard punch, he could block the right hand, or he could pull the right hand, or he could block the left hook, or he could counter a jab, right? He could counter over the top of the jab, or he could pull the jab. Just one defensive trick to kind of sew together, right? Because, you know, obviously this is not the case. Otherwise, Robson would have beat him. But if you fight a guy who can come forward and throw punches the whole time and can control you because you have no defense, and every time you get on the line with him, maybe he can throw a big rounded punch, and you fight a guy who can do that for 2 minutes of every round, right? There's just not as much space in the fight for him to make points, right? Because his defense is bad. Think Canelo versus Golovkin 3, right? Golovkin just didn't throw any punches, right? And not because he didn't want to, but because Canelo wouldn't let him. Canelo's constantly coming forward, constantly pushing him to the back foot. Golovkin didn't have any defense, right? And Golovkin is a way, way better version of Navarrete. 10 times as good. Um, anyway, um, just some small things. That's where I would say for Robson, some feints, just a little bit of control, not everything being his hardest punches, right? And then Navarrete, because he would get to the line, he would draw Robson out, and Robson would throw hard punches. Learn to counter those punches. Learn to block some of those punches, You're the harder puncher in most of your fights. Most people are afraid of you. Learn to stay close to your opponent, right? Especially because when he throws his best punches, those crazy combinations, he's inches away from these dudes, right? Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want personal coaching, check out my Patreon. Um, and yeah, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System, the most complete combat system in the world, the only one that will teach you how punching power really works. Okay?